possible to have that much water come through that 1-inch line?
It's 4 million gallons. That's a lake. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of how people perceive what 4 million gallons is. We met with the town, and it was, we were told that, well, it is possible at 3 liters a second. Well, there's not a house in town that can take 3 1-liter water bottles, open it down for a second, close it, and have them full. I mean, it's not a possible rate. It's not. So what I'm proposing is we go back for the 8 years that we have on file. There was the issue that one of the irrigation lines was hit and couldn't produce water for 3 or 4 days. I mean, it's before irrigation was on fully. So take our 8-year average, add a month onto it, if it did flow for a month, which it didn't, and use those numbers for a reasonable estimate.
Any questions, Council?
I have one, Your Worship. Was there a water line coming from your house to the canal as well as one going from the canal to the house or to the yard?
It's the same line.
It's the same line.
Yeah, it's a 1-inch line.
And what happened? Was there an irrigation box or something that was?
There's an irrigation box that was hit. Yeah. When we moved into the house, I took the opportunity. We had a contract with the WID to produce from the canal, so I put in a system that tied into our system with the pump in the canal and everything, which would be controlled with our irrigation. When the irrigation came on, it would turn on the pump, and that way we wouldn't be using town water to irrigate our yard. The next year, the WID rescinded on their contract and didn't want to renew it. So the line, we pulled everything out of there. The valve and everything was still in a plastic box, and when they went to cut the grass along there, they hit the box. That would have been, I believe, in June. And with all the rain we had, I mean, I didn't even have our irrigation system on. It was on and off with the valve downstairs manually. So, I mean, it didn't have the chance to even fulfill that time.
So you're saying there's 2 meters in your house, right?
Yes, there is. There's a water meter for the town water and the sewer and everything that we use, and then we also have an irrigation meter. And the irrigation meter is the one that was the 26,000, and that one's separate.
And there's no way that could have been left on broken and running free flow?
No. I have the valve downstairs,
yeah.
And we didn't turn it on until July. I mean, it rained every day from then. I mean, there's no reason to even turn it on. I mean, until I'm ready to go, right? In the fall, you shut it off in case there's freezing or anything like that. You don't want to load all your lines, so you have to put the water shut off. And then I didn't turn it back on until July, so no, there's no way that it could have been flowing over winter time or any extended period, especially for 144 days. That would mean they would have had to turn it on back in March or whatever else.
Would you let our staff come and use that line?
Absolutely, yeah. They were in contact with us.
We played phone tag, and we tried. He called me on Monday to try to get together, and our schedules never worked.
Go ahead.
I guess the testing that you did, was that with a 1-inch line?
That was with the that
or
was
the tap.
No, that was straight off the 1-inch line. So I mean, there's no restrictions. There's nothing in there. In fact, it's more than that thing. It's only a 3/4 inch coming into the house, and that's a 1-inch line I have coming off of there, because I had a 1-inch going from the canal. Because the pump I had in the canal was a 2 horsepower. I mean, that thing would put out more water than half of wildflower. I mean, so I had a 1-inch line going from there to the house. I mean, the line was actually could occupy more than what the house can supply, I guess is what I'm. So there was no restriction on it. I mean, the flow coming that I measured was maximum total flow that could produce. It couldn't produce any more.
Your Worship, I wonder if administration has any comments on this in regards to any testing that or calculations they may have done in regards to a 1-inch line.
Go ahead.
So yeah, we've run some numbers ourselves and what may be possible. We don't have any as-built on the system, so we've made a number of assumptions. We've assumed that it's a 25-meter stretch from the main to the meter, and then another 15 meters kind of from that meter out to the canal bank or something along those lines. So with a 50 psi pressure on the service main, it's been estimated anywhere from 73 days to 87 days for that level of water to flow through the pipe, depending on assumptions, type of pipe, material, all that kind of stuff. So, I guess, unfortunately, we didn't have an actual meter read between October and July, I believe it was.
Yeah, but the water shut off. I mean, the lines are going out.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, it can't flow. If the valve in the house is shut off, your lines are blown out, they're filled with air. If they weren't, you wouldn't have a sprinkler system. I mean, you know what 40 minus 40 does to a sprinkler system. If there was water in there, it'd be done. I mean, it's not. The sprinkler lines are blown out every October, and they don't turn on again until it stops raining, which this year was July. I mean, you just don't go down and turn your sprinkler system on when it's raining out. I mean, that's not.
What do you attribute this call it what you like an
I
error?
believe they tested the meter. I don't know. I'm not a meter expert. I don't know if, I mean, they're gear driven. If a piece of sand or something got caught in there, and whether the thousandths one clicked around, I don't know. I can't explain it. Something happened. That we know. I mean, the meter obviously jumped. But 4 million gallons of water, if you look it up, we're trying to imagine that. It's like a lake. I mean, it's.
No
I remember I asked when I was trying to bring reason to explain it, and I believe I asked the town what the town usage was for that month. And they told me, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I believe my usage would have been 1/13 of the entire town's water that month. I mean, you can't. I mean, it just physically, you can't do it.
Any other questions? I would say we're going to take this under your comments under advisory, and we're going to discuss it further with the administration.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know where to go with it either, since it's a very unusual situation,
Yeah, I just, it's one of those.
And this is not saying we need anything, we're just going to take it under advisory.
Yep.
Okay?
And how long will it take you to figure this out? Because, I mean, we're dealing with this and the stress of a $26,000 water bill that.
And while trying to sell a house and everything.
Yeah, we kind of need to
some closure would be,
some closure is what we're looking for.
I would say within 30 days, I mean, there's a lot
How
of
about
things.
15?
Pardon me?
How about 2 weeks?
Well, it's either going to be getting together, and I mean, you're going to know what the answer is. I mean,
Your worship, just one more question. The meter, question through the chair to Jesse, was the meter sent away to be tested? It was tested. And the meter looks like it's working properly, and it shows that amount, 15,797 cubic meters of water is unaccounted for. It's got to have gone somewhere, unless the meter is, like you said, is totally.
The meter, I guess I'll talk about the meter a little bit. The meter indicated that it was functioning properly. It doesn't account for the water. I mean, it just indicates that upon testing, it was reading the flow levels and the volumes accordingly. So it appears as though the meter was functioning properly. That's about all I can kind of say about that, I guess.
So can a meter, has it ever happened that a meter made a mistake halfway through the billing period and all of a sudden you take it out and it's working fine? I mean, there's no answer to that.
Yeah, I can't say never. I don't, I guess I don't know. I've never been in that situation before, but I don't know if Mel has an experience in the utilities department.
All we can offer up is the fact that it was tested and it appeared to be, the report came back normal.
Where was the damage to the actual pipe? I understand it was capped at the one end. Was it capped as it went into the canal? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so it was capped there, but where was the damage done?
that's where it was.
Right at the
Into
canal.
Yeah, when they were cutting the banks.
And at no time anyone noticed water flowing into the canal. There was never any report of anything.
4 million gallons of water would have washed out you would see where 4 million gallons of water
Everything would
went.
have been saturated around there. Like I weed whip down there and I never noticed
Well, take your hose,
anything.
just take your hose and put it down a hill for a day. You're gonna have damage, you're gonna have erosion. Well, now multiply that by 4 million gallons of water. Put 4 million gallons of water down a hillside. You're gonna have some serious erosion. I mean, there's just, it's gonna,
But wasn't that pipe going directly into the canal?
no, water was sitting right up on top of the bank.
Oh.
So that would have been.
Okay, I suppose we'll give you, any other questions?
I just want to make one comment. I just want you to understand that at 26,000, whatever the number is, square cubes of water, 15,000, 16,000, whatever, we have to pay for that. Just so you know, I appreciate the situation, but I want to be very clear. That's not something that we have to give away. This is something that 16,000 cubic meters of water has to be paid for every resident in the town of Strathmore. So I just want to make that point. And that's why we look at this in a more or less a black and white, and I understand there's gray areas here, but that is not free water. It's water that's paid by all taxpayers on here. So it's not
Absolutely,
gratis.
me being a taxpayer, but that does not mean I'm gonna stand up and say, okay, I'll take the hit for the town. I mean, I'm a nice guy, but.
Well, if there was
I
some
understand.
indication that it was taking a hit for the town, I could understand that, but we seem to have done everything right, and that's just at this point, you know, our meter's working, that 16,000
Yeah, but if it's
cubic went through the.
If it's impossible to accumulate that, then how did it
But there's
happen?
other explanations, I would imagine, I don't know if there's, but that water did
4
go
million
through
gallons
there.
of water coming out of water pipe with a maximum flow. If it can't happen, then it can't happen. So it doesn't really matter what the meter says or anything else. If 4 million gallons of water cannot flow in 30 days, then it cannot happen. I mean, how else do you?
Well,
One
pressure.
example, and
Go ahead.
Good.
I just wonder, Mr. Brad, have you ever had an independent engineer or whoever it is come in and take a look at the house? There might be something.
It's not the house, it doesn't go to the house.
Or the line or whatever. Does anybody else other than yourself look at it?
No, there is no, I mean, I can turn it on and it holds pressure. I mean, you can look at the meter. If there was
Well, you
another
know,
leak somewhere,
actually,
it would-
EPCOR came out and looked at it, because the pressure had fallen out in our area, and I called to see why there was such low pressure. So they came out and looked at the line.
But I mean, you can see the meter wouldn't roll, right?
Okay, what was that for its explanation? Did they have an explanation or?
No, they just said the water is terrible up in Wallflower, that
It always has been.
we have no pressure, that's just the way it is. And that's what he said. He said, we have no pressure up here. He tested all the other residents and said, we have shitty water up here, so.
I was just curious if you had an independent other than that for.
No, we didn't hire a separate, I didn't see any need, I mean.
Okay, I was just curious.
Thank you.
okay, no other comments, questions?
Yeah, one question, Your Worship, to Bob. You said you turn on that valve in July. Do you know when in July? What day?
Oh, I couldn't even,
Beginning of July, middle of July?
it would have been the beginning of July, I would imagine.
It would have been after the long weekend. It was just before I went away for that one weekend. So it would have been about the first, about July 7th, I think.
Okay. Because we did a reading early in July, I believe.
July 6th.
That was an estimate, no, we went over that, that was just an estimate. Is that-
Was not an actual reading?
No. Not from what I understand.
We
So I
have a,
brought that up, because then that even shortens it from July 6th to, because I think, yeah,
For
that was
some-
7,000 or
there was
whatever
an
else.
There was an estimate done.
We have a reading of,
but if there was an estimate done, then how did they come up with that
Well,
kind of,
because
with that amount?
she had stated that when the amount had come through, obviously a red flag went up. So they gave us the first bill of $2,000 or something, and we thought, well, that was odd because we haven't had the sprinkler system on. And then that's when the next bill came in August 7th, that the $26,000 bill came. So she had said that, yeah, a bill, they were trying to figure out what had happened to make sure that that was an accurate reading. They said they went to the council, and you guys said, no, send out the bill. And so that's when the bill came out, it was in August 7th. So in July was an estimate.
Doesn't,
Through
I
the
don't
chair,
quite follow.
sorry, we have a statement here that says on July 6th, there was an irrigation meter reading coming in at 22,217 cubic meters, with showing a consumption of 15,797 cubic meters. That doesn't sound like an estimate to me, it sounds like an actual reading.
It could have been.
And there was the last time it was read was in October, so
They saw it July
we're just
7th.
trying to follow a timeline that from October to July, no meter reading was done, but in that time period, this
Well, because-
15,797 cubic meters was lost, or it
See,
shows it
Because
was
they
lost.
came to put new meters in.
No, that was not, no, he's,
Is it something different?
that's different. No, see, I don't have, like, I have a bill, all I have is the bills that they sent us, and that was one from July, and then one from August. And I said the same thing, and then they pointed out that the bill from July was supposed to be, so I mean, that's even more in my favor than if the actual reading was July 7th, and we used 4 million gallons of water over the winter time when the valve's not even turned on. Now I have some serious questions as to how you use 4 million gallons of water when it's -40 out.
that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, I don't have that, I don't have.
I think we do have to strike farther, I really do, and I don't know if we do, but hopefully by the 15th, okay?
That,
Yeah, and
I
thank you very much.
appreciate it, an expedited answer would be
And,
awesome.
I mean, neither one of us like this scenario, you gotta know that, it's difficult for both sides. And, thank you for coming in, and we're gonna do the best we can to analyze it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff Sergeant Larry Mazinski, Arctic Reporter Report. You have 3 minutes.
I gave you 2 more than last time.
Yeah.
Good evening, Larry.
Evening, Council.
Good evening.
Hopefully everyone had a chance to read the report. If you have any questions, stop me anytime. I'll just quickly go through it. With reference to it, again, it covers the areas of our annual performance plan. And we do a review every quarter on those specific items that are added in. The first one, service to the public. We have had since April 1st 4 public complaints. 2 are currently still under investigation. One was found to be substantiated, and 1 resolved informally. There are 2 outstanding public complaint investigations still from last year awaiting completion. And at this time, I've got no concerns with reference to the performance of our members or staff.
Can I just ask one thing on the drug situation? I do have some complaints from citizens and requesting that, or maybe a statement more than anything, can you do your drug deal in school and just, have a, what do you call it, we'll walk down or climb down and just go right over it? You can't?
No.
And the reason being?
Police state, we have to be asked to come in by the schools to address any issues they may have. And we have to have information to do anything that concerns search warrants or that. You can't just have a clamp down for no particular reason.
And then, does anybody know, does the school have to have a reason to call you then?
If the schools have some information or some suspicion of something going on, it's their property, they can ask us to come on their property and
How definitive does that have to be,
Pardon me?
How definitive does it have to be that from the school's point of view,
Well, again, if they have a concern, we'll go to the school. We've gotten no requests since I've been here from any school to come in to do any such activity within the school. And again, with reference to concerned citizens coming up with this, again, I have to caution the fact that, people do have rights out there, even students have rights. And again, we're here under legislation to enforce the law in a particular way. And we can't just do as we please out there.
No.
With or without the school's permission. But if they have concerns, if the school administration has concerns,
So does the school have to be warned that day that you're coming?
the school itself.
Or the students, yeah?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
So if the school administration of any of the schools wished us to come in for a particular reason, we would discuss that with them, what their concerns are, try to set up appropriate action from there.
Okay, thank you.
With reference to our objective number 2, traffic enforcement and education, we've seen increases considerably. I think in the last quarter, we had an increase of 190% in town of charges. So the enforcement's up considerably in town on the traffic enforcement. With reference to objective number 3, mischief and vandalism, we were hoping to try to reduce the amount of mischief going on in town. It's actually over the last quarter risen by 54%, so that's quite alarming over the summertime. A lot of that had to do with the spray painting incidents that we're all aware of, etc. There have lately been a few charges laid with reference to some of those incidents, and they're before the court right now. Our crime reduction unit member has been working quite hard on those particular concerns. And as I say, it's through his efforts and some of the other members of the detachment that came up with the information regarding the recent charges before the courts. With reference to theft, again, we've had an increase in the last quarter of 36%, and it's something that we're trying to analyze in areas of town. We don't have any particular areas that have been hit, except for it seems to randomly wander. Again, they'll be reduced over the next little while because of the weather changing, but in the summertime, that has been an increase, but in recent years, we've also had a decrease, so that could be a fluctuation, a natural fluctuation. With reference to drugs, our charges in the last quarter are up 100%. So the enforcement is happening. Our actual reported incidents are up 158%, and that has a lot to do with intelligence files coming into us too, that we're developing. Information with regards to obtaining search warrants and that type of thing, and also a plan project.
Question through the chair.
Yeah.
Just a question about mischief, vandalism, theft, and how it's kind of random, and maybe that people are wondering. At one time, Strathmore, I believe, had a curfew. Where do we stand now as far as our curfew, as far as young people?
I think we still have the curfew in effect.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is it?
11 o'clock, I believe. 12.
I believe it's 12.
12?
Has that curfew been used much lately? No.
Yeah.
And again, I will put it back this way. A lot of that has to do with why the kids are out on the street in the first place. Why 14-year-olds that are on the street at 2 o'clock in the morning. Us return them, and it has happened in the past where they've been returned to their parents and they're back on the street within an hour. Because, again, a lot of it is laid at the foot of the parents. If they don't have control of their children, it's pretty tough for the community or the police to have control of the children. And we're talking about the ones wandering the streets. And I would say 80% of those wandering the streets aren't the ones causing mischief or creating theft. It's a small minority, but again, they're not always from this community. Strathmore is no different than any other community around the Calgary hub, where we have traveling criminals from Calgary or other locations, and they come in and target specific locations. It happens in Okotoks, it happens in Cochrane, it happens in all those communities around the area, where they'll come in on scheduled night run, and they'll be the ones hitting those unlocked cars along the street, pick up iPods, any loose change, anything in there. That's how they do business. Next night they're in another community. So it's not always the 13, 14-year-olds that are out at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they just have idle time on their hands and they're wandering and they're not the ones actually responsible for these acts.
Is it, maybe, can you throw them in jail because they're different age or?
No.
You can't?
No. Once we pick up any youth, we turn them back over to, unless it's a serious offense, they go straight back to the parents. And for us to do anything else, we have to have some pretty strong
Okay.
information
Yeah, I
in
didn't
regards to
work.
their activities.
Yes.
Your worship, through the chair, Staff Sergeant Larry, your objectives 2, 3, 4, and 5 are showing quite major increases in what's going on here. Is this, can you expound on that? Is this good or is this bad for Strathmore?
Well, I would say on the drug enforcement side, it's good, because we're bringing a lot more people that are involved in, specifically in the production and the trafficking of drugs to the courts. If, for comparison,
I didn't get a chance to read through all the different municipalities here, but are we sort of, I guess my question is, are we staying status quo or are we getting worse or?
Here's, from the last 2 months, or 2 quarters, and I ran some stats for comparison. I did give you guys some charts, or council some charts with reference to comparison, and those numbers come from a little different source and they cover different periods of time, but I give you some idea if you look through them. But over the last 2 quarters, with reference to numbers covered by the same report that I've always been giving you, we have Strathmore, our total files are 4,500. And we basically have 16 municipal members. Chestermere, which has 16 municipal members, has 2,900 files under investigation at the same period of time. So for every member there, they're investigating 180 files over that 2-quarter period. In Strathmore, your members are investigating 280, so almost 100 more files over that time per member. So that our members are very busy. With reference to drugs in Chestermere, they had 37 incidents overall reported in those 2 quarters. We had 95. And a lot of those, as I say, are self-generated information intelligence files. So our members are working hard at trying to get that information. They also had 22 charges. We had 33. Another comparison would be High River, where they had 27 incidents and 7 charges. Does that mean that there's less drugs in Chestermere or High River than in Strathmore? I don't think so. I think that's the efforts of our member are actually surfacing more information than maybe at other places. I can't speak directly for their efforts because I'm not there and I'm not working. But we are gleaning a lot from the work of the members, and it gets reflected in those numbers. With reference to the mischief files, I quickly ran those in High River, which again, for their 2-quarter period, they had 3,500 files under investigation by the members, so about 200, so 80 less per member over that 6-month term than our members. Yet their mischief complaints were 175 in town, and ours were 196. So really, there's not much difference there in a community such as High River that appears to have lower numbers of investigations. And yet on the mischief side, they're running almost equal with us. So again, are our numbers out of control? I guess anytime you have any type of crime, it's out of control for that member of the community that's affected by it. But I would say that the numbers are showing that we're running the same in comparison to other communities our size with reference to those types of incidents, except in the area of drugs where we're putting a lot of effort. And we've done that for the last 3 or 4 years in trying to not only, as I said in the past, find the youngster down the alley with a simple possession charge. We're very interested in Strathmore finding the people that are actually giving that product to that youngster in the alleyway, and that takes a lot more work than it takes developing the information. So I think that's where that in item 5, that's where those numbers are reflected. And again, I have to give full compliments to the members for that, because again, they are, when you compare them across the board here, Okotoks, a much larger community, many more actual municipally funded members. And right now, in those last quarters, they were running at 4150 for their actual files under investigation. So they were even less than Strathmore. So we've got a very busy community with activity that police are investigating. Some of the numbers that you're looking at on those other charts that I gave you, I think our total criminal code work from that year to date was 1175 files. Criminal code work, which is that's where we spend how would I say it, the most times in the investigations. Each file takes longer than the more lesser scale incidents. Okotoks, which has a considerable higher population, their total to date for this year is at 1176, one more file than Strathmore in criminal code. And they have, and I tried to confirm this today, I wasn't able to, I believe they have 20 municipal funded members, we have 16, so they've got 4 more members.
I would just like to clarify something though. Drug problems could be equal all over, you just maybe we're doing a little more thorough job here, as far as.
We're putting a lot of time and effort into the drug enforcement. And as I say, targeting more of the high-end people in town and trying to get them to.
But I want to clarify, the community, we're doing you're doing a better job here.
Well, I'm not saying we're doing a better job, I'm saying we're putting a lot of effort into it. I won't criticize someone else's work because I'm not there watching.
Okay, but I don't want to be known as, what I'm trying to say is that there's more, you know.
That's the thing about statistics, you can make them say almost everything you want them to say. All I can say is why I think our numbers are higher than theirs is right now because we are putting a concentrated effort into that. Actually, on our annual performance plan for the detachment area, we took drugs off our quarterly reports because we beefed it up so much in the area. We feel like it's under control in the way that we're putting every amount of effort for the resources we have into it that we can. Whereas you folks asked me to leave it on the table to report to you.
Question through the chair. Are there specific areas that your detachment focuses more on as far as drive-throughs and checking? Because I keep getting calls about, can I mention a specific question I have? I keep getting calls from some people about the alley behind the old Sobeys store, that there's a lot of activity there. Is that like a hot spot, one of the places that you guys will patrol regularly?
Downtown and anywhere near any licensed establishments will be a hot spot. Okay. And again, activity will migrate from one location to another depending on who needs what. And that gets back down to supply and demand. Yeah. We do try to track incidents that are reported to us and the intelligence that comes into us where the activity may be, and then our efforts might actually make them or force them to migrate to another location just to get away from any heat that may be coming from us. So again, the downtown core is because of the activities, the night entertainment and other activities in the downtown core, and it's a place to congregate for people that have enough money and to need to gain access to any illicit drugs or any illicit material that they want to get their hands on. Okay. But we also have to, as I say, the parking lots, the areas surrounding, the alleys surrounding licensed premises will always be a target of ours to concentrate on too, because that's where young adults with money are congregating. And once again, that's not to paint them all with the same brush, because the majority of them are all law-abiding citizens who are out there just having a good time, and they're following all the laws. It's just those minorities that we're trying to pick up on. Okay. Thank you.
I might as well get into the fray here. Actually, this is in regards to traffic, Larry, and first of all, your numbers are looking very good for traffic, and obviously you folks are working on it, and the accidents seem to be under control and if not going down. Council's often faced with a set of complaints in regards to one particular street, one particular avenue, and there's only so many things we can do. I mean, we can recommend a stop sign to try to slow down traffic, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing we want to do, though, is ensure that there is an issue at this problem. I think we both know that what seems like a very high speed to some people is not necessarily a very high speed, but at the end of it, we're all interested in one, and that's preventing an accident, preventing any child or adult from being struck. Specifically in regards to an enforcement issue in traffic, first of all, I don't believe you folks have a municipal traffic section.
No.
Are you considering that in the future with what I've just said, in keeping that in mind and something that can perhaps work with our bylaw officers, keeping in mind that our bylaw officers are primarily engaged with enforcement of bylaws?
Mm-hmm. I'd love to have municipal traffic section if council wants to bring on some more bodies and pay for them, we'll gladly take them. Is it a top priority? I know I've been talking to some citizens who would love to see school liaison officers full-time. There's also some talk with reference to the drug thing, that we should have someone actually focused on the drug situation full-time and not wandering to different topics along the way. So all those are all areas that definitely we could always use more. A comparison with High River, which has less population. It's a quieter community in the ways of police activity and investigative files, considerably less by the numbers. And they have 17 municipal members right now, and we have 16. And this leads me to another topic that I was going to bring up tonight is my request.
We already done the budget, I'm sorry, sir.
Additional member next year, and hopefully the council is going to support that to bring their numbers up.
Just before I lose my traffic issue here, is that something that your office would be able to assist us with when we get these? And I'm talking about specific areas or roads in town that are being identified by more than one person as a potential threat to the safety of our citizens. Is there something that you folks can do in regards to enforcement?
We'll always sit down, especially with your municipal enforcement officers, to set up a game plan or an action plan to address any real concerns.
Okay.
And as I say, sometimes perceptions don't meet up with reality. And I'll say flat out right now, I've been here now almost 4 years. Strathmore does not have a traffic problem. Strathmore does not have a serious location threat in traffic that I'm aware of. It's been brought to my attention, and that's saying a considerable amount for having the Trans-Canada Highway going straight to the middle of town. I know the mayor and I think yourself, Councillor Sobel, asked me about a few specific areas of concern in that in the past. Again, the numbers from what we have statistic-wise for accidents, etc., simply don't show that it's a serious problem. It's a serious issue always, and traffic will be with school zones, playground zones. We've had a few residential areas that have been labeled as concerned areas, but from the statistics I've seen and looked at myself, it doesn't show a serious problem. Now that doesn't mean that we don't treat it seriously, because we do with the numbers that have been shown through our statistics over the last 3 or 4 years. We take the traffic issues quite seriously, and there's a spin-off to that because ever since I've come to Strathmore, and it happens in all the communities of other detachment commanders I talk to, visibility is always an issue. We also hear the concerns of citizens and concerns of council that we don't see enough police cars out on the road enough. Well, when you're increasing your statistics that much, traffic-wise, you know the numbers are out on the road. We can't do it from the office.
I guess there was that one particular one you're talking about, and we'll work with you on that one, and Councilor Hamilton has the same issue. So, we'll bring it up to your.
Yes, and again, I think the municipal, enforcement officers know that if they have something that they need assistance with, it goes hand in hand with media assistance. I know they're always there to do what they can within their realm of their authority.
Okay. And further comments, or do you have any further report? Any questions? Well, thank you very much.
I didn't get my commitment for that.
Truly would love to add one. I mean, you know, but it's dollars will cents, you know.
What year are you talking about there? Are you talking about
2012, 2013. So did that not go through on your recent budget?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Okay.
We don't want to get into the budget right now, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Public hearing on December 7th, page 39. 6-1.
I move that council set a public hearing for December 7th, 2011, commencing at 7:30 p.m.
You all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. 6-2, page 41, Prairie Edge, on part of phase 1 land use amendment, bylaw number 1124. Time, did you want to speak to it, or no? No, I'm just, okay.
I move that council do first reading of the bylaw 11-24.
Thank you, you all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried.
I move the council refer bylaw number 1124 to the public hearing scheduled for December 7th, 2011.
You all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. No business. Page, 8-2, page 51. Now. Good evening.
In the 2011 current year budget, there was funding for the wildflower reservoir designed by long-term borrowing in the amount of $500,000. This was to be included with another project that did not go ahead, and that was the George Freeman Trail Bridge upgrading. The design of the reservoir is moving ahead. We have funds within the capital water supply reserve that could be used for this project rather than proceed with the borrowing at this time.
Okay, any questions of, no? You understand it's coming out of the reserve? Looking for motion?
Your Worship, I move the council approve the funding of the Wildflower Reservoir from the Water Supply Capital Reserve account number 4-41-00-760-00 in the amount of $500,000.
All in favor of the motion, any further discussion? Not all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Names, advisory committee, page 83, page 53. Annie, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Your Worship. And it's even shorter because it's only one recommendation this time.
Perfect.
The request was to name the road for phase 6 of the ranch, which is on the southeast corner of the mobile home park. And the recommendation was to name the road Ranch Downs. We electronically pulled the Names Advisory Committee, and 5 of the voting members responded yes, and that's the response that we received. And therefore, the recommendation is for that road to be named Ranch Downs.
Just so I got it clear in my mind, it's from where to where?
Ranch Downs is actually more of a cul-de-sac type of road.
Okay.
So it'll be just from that portion north of now Archie Fiber Road into the actual subdivided area.
Okay. I'll leave your recommendation.
Oh, sorry,
ahead, I'm sorry.
question through the chair. When these names come to us from the advisory board, it means basically that they feel that they've met at least one of those criteria. Once it comes to us, it's...
That is correct.
Okay.
Your Worship, I would move that council approve the name of Ranch Downs for the road as shown on attached Schedule A.
Y'all heard the motion, there's no further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Stan. Page 4, land sales on each under subdivision. Page 1. Administration?
Yes, Your Worship. The provincial government has come out with a proposed grant to build more assisted living in Strathmore. I know of 5 companies that are trying to get the grant so they can go ahead and build some more assisted living. The town owns a piece of land that we'd be willing to sell, and 2 companies have put in an offer to buy that piece of land, and it's for 4 acres. Each of them have similar proposal, 4 acres at $400,000 per acre, which is 1.6 million. And only one company will get the grant. Could be one of those, or could be one of the other 3. But anyway, 2 of them want to make an offer on a piece of land we own. So we prepared a recommendation here for council to approve. And on the first one, it's PPSL Real Estate Ltd. So I'd like a motion on that one, and then we'll go on to the next one.
Just so it's clear that maybe the public should know that this piece of land we're talking about is west of the Idaho and east of Kinsman Park parking lot, right?
Yes.
On the north end of that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So everybody's aware of that.
And does not go into the park proper, it doesn't proceed south other than to the end of the Idaho property.
Yes, that's correct. And on the maps, it basically shows that there. It's, at this time, it's zoned R3.
Wasn't this supposed to say in it subject to our lawyer's approval?
I've got it on here, yes.
Oh, okay.
Someone else has
Who's got
it.
the?
Thank you.
Your Worship, I make a motion that council approve the offer to purchase 4 acres of land between the town of Strathmore and PPSL Real Estate Limited Ltd. located at Plan 9411772, Block 3, for a total price of $1.6 million, subject to the purchaser receiving confirmation of receipt of the Affordable Supportive Living Initiative grant, subject to the town's legal representation reviewing the agreement.
Y'all heard the motion. Any further discussion or questions? None, all in favor? Carried.
And Your Worship, the next one that made the same offer is a company called H&H Total Care Inc., H&H. And I'd like to have a similar motion.
I would just like to state or further clarify that we are selling this, it's the same piece of land, but we are not selling it twice. Only the person that gets the grant can buy the land. So that this is clarified to the public. Go ahead.
Your worship, I make the motion that council approve the offer to purchase 4 acres of land between the town of Strathmore, H&H Total Care Inc., H&H in brackets, located at plan 9411772, block 3, for the total price of 1.6 million, subject to the purchaser receiving confirmation of receipt of the Affordable Supportive Living Initiative grant, subject to the town's legal representation reviewing this agreement.
Connor, motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now, I have 8.6 on the agenda. Thank you. Linda.
Your worship, council, the town of Strathmore Fire Department has an opportunity to purchase a spill response trailer from West Coast Spill Supplies for $15,000 plus GST. The trailer comes fully supplied with a base inventory to allow a response to emergency situations requiring a hazardous material spill response, and includes new tires as well. The details on the trailer, including a list of the base emergency inventory, are included in your agenda package for this item, and those are all included in the sale. In the last couple of years, the fire department has been called upon to clean up a number of large fuel spills. This trailer will provide a centralized location to store and access hazmat cleanup supplies, and will provide opportunities to generate additional revenue for the town of Strathmore. This is an exceptional opportunity for the town to add to our existing emergency services inventory at a very reasonable cost, and will allow emergency services to effectively respond to this type of emergency effectively and safely. The Strathmore Emergency Services Member Association may contribute $7,000 towards the purchase of the trailer, and the fire department currently have sufficient funds budgeted under safety equipment and first aid materials to cover the costs in this year's budget. Funds will need to be transferred from operating to capital, and administration is recommending that council approve the purchase of the hazmat spill response trailer with costs not to exceed $50,000 plus GST from operating to be transferred to capital.
Wasn't there a donation from another organization?
It is not finalized, but it is very possible that the entire cost will be funded from outside sources. But this will be a capital asset, so it still has to come through council. We would still have to pay the costs up front, and it could be that just a portion of it will be paid for from outside sources.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Randall.
To the chair, to Linda. One question is, Strathmore Emergency Service Members Association may contribute.
Yes.
Not will.
Correct.
So what if they don't?
If they don't, we still have funds this year to cover the total cost. And what's happened is it still has to go to the meeting. There has to be a motion from the association to contribute.
Okay. Second question, on the last page, the inventory page, is that inventory is included with the purchase of the?
Yes, it is included, and if there are items in that inventory that we can't use, they will swap those materials out for items that we can use.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Randall.
Question to the Charter Administration. This, I think it's well overdue. Something like this is needed. I'm thinking of a major spill, like a tanker going over with this, obviously this won't be enough to handle that. Or would it?
This is fully equipped for spills of up to 7,000 liters.
Okay.
And I'll just, in addition, this trailer has only been used 3 times. It is 3 years old, and it's been used for 3 separate spill events. Normally, the trailer has just been used for advertisement. So it's practically a brand new unit. It will also be inspected prior to the town purchasing it, and the inspection will ensure that all requirements are met, and that would include the requirements for the Ministry of Transportation. So,
To the chair to Linda, when is this association going to have its meeting to confirm that or deny that they're going to contribute $7,000?
not until December.
Any further comments?
Well, no, go ahead. I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, I just wanted to ask one quick question. What is just maybe through the chair of the administration, what does the fire department have currently in place for something like this? Do they have anything like this?
Your worship, they have a little bit, and nothing like this.
Nothing to this standard at all.
Okay.
I'm very confident that it's gonna be, from my conversations with everybody, that it's gonna be paid for by other services, so I'm very confident.
Yeah, it's not 100%.
But I'm pretty confident it will be. Anyway.
Well, regardless, it's a little, I mean, it'd be nice if it was paid for by other groups, but this is something that I think we need. Containment of hazardous materials is a tough job, and this is, we're way past the stage of having something along this line. I don't hesitate with something like this, and I'd move that council approve the purchase of the hazmat spill response trailer with cost not to exceed $15,000 plus GST from operating to be transferred to capital.
Y'all heard the motion, no further discussion, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Administration, there's nothing else from administration, if not, committee and departmental reports. Starting with Mr. Remble.
As you heard, the Names Advisory Committee, there was one meeting, and the rest of it was all done by electronic polling to the members. So we spent countless hours responding to these polling questions, and the other one is the WFCSS, and things are progressing in a normal fashion, and we're expecting to have a break-even year in 2011.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilor Pugh.
Yes, I have reports from the following committees. First of all, from the Youth Center. Fall classes are going well with good committed leaders. The building has been painted outside and inside with a few more projects underway. We're ready to place our new volunteer program coordinator this week. That's being done. We have a new person who's she's offered her name to be chair of the board. And that's it for that one. Museum board. We've been in contact with the Alberta Museum Society regarding becoming a society and applying for grants. I've had meetings with a member of the town administrative team to start working on grant applications. We have completed most of our video interviews, and I'll be talking to the Deputy CAO about some funding to save these video interviews onto flash drives. We're looking at history plaques for some of the old buildings downtown. Al West is going to be spearheading some of that. And we are I have been in contact again with the Alberta Museums Association to apply for official recognition, and so that we follow their guidelines for museums in Alberta. Wheatland Housing, we've approved the latest financial statement. We're still awaiting the final payout on grants for the kitchen renovation, and we have a new member from the county on our board, Bernice Bland. Strathmore Municipal Library, we have welcomed back our head librarian who was away for 1 year paternity leave. We had a summer reading program I mentioned earlier that was very successful, but we took recommendations from the outgoing people to improve the program for next year. The new security system is up and running, and the meeting room is alarmed separately so that it can be run separately and allowed to be open after the library is closed. And I believe that is it.
Thank you. Councilor Hamilton.
Very short report, Your Worship, in regards to the Chamber of Commerce. Last night we held a special meeting to review job description for a contract position for secretarial duties. All my other committees and meetings.
Councilor Rocky.
Your Worship, United Way meeting held October 6th. Quite a few ideas brought up for fundraising, as we're always looking for money in there. We did do a barbecue in September with M&M Meats that raised roughly $800. United Way new posters and logos are out. We have people attending the Cheeto Lions Club to see if we can get some donations there. I just found out today the needs assessment cost is going to be way out of line. If you remember, I think we had a budget for $7,000 for that. That number is coming in at around $20,000. Not too sure what's going to happen on that, as these partnership agreements have to be signed by year end, so I guess we'll find out in the next meeting or two what's going to happen there. Handy bus meeting held October 17th, general discussion on future operating costs. 2000, remainder 2011 should be all right. 2012, I believe, will be all right. 2013 is going to be a question mark. We do know we have to go after corporate sponsorship in regards to donations and maybe even supplying fuel. Main discussion we have had at the last meeting was how to decrease costs further, which is going to come up at the next meeting, mainly concerning drivers and the amount of buses we're running. We're in the process of applying for the Community Spirit Grant. I did mention that the AUMA convention, a couple of us attended. The motion was carried on the floor for operation and maintenance expenses on senior transportation. This motion will be furthered to the provincial government. Something might come out of there, maybe. With Amazon meeting held on October 22nd, short meeting for board members only, mainly to review management performance and salaries. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Campbell.
There was no meeting, thank you, no meeting for the Family Center Advisory Board in October. For Centennial celebrations, the Fall Gala was held October 14th, attended by 250 people approximately by all accounts. It was a successful event and marked the third and last major event celebrating the town's 100th birthday. A financial report which will deal with the entire Centennial budget is expected to be ready for release by either year end or early in 2012. Strathmore Wheatland Addiction Team SWAT met on October 6th. It was agreed that we would hire a student on a part-time basis to put together statistics and obtain formalized feedback in regards to the positive ticketing campaign. And there were no meetings for Calgary Regional Partnership, the Arts and Recreational Foundation, and no meeting for Hope Bridges Society Community Arts Center feasibility study. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. As far as I'm concerned, I couldn't attend the CRP executive meeting this month because of other commitments, so I don't really know what they decided, but usually things go on their own. I did attend a meeting for Councillor Best with the Happy Gang, and they had a lot of questions. It's always interesting to go to their meetings, and I do enjoy it. And one of the big questions was when is the service road going to be done? And I didn't promise them, but I said it probably by the 1st of November, and I believe that it was done by that time. And then usually general other kind of questions, and they're really, really nice people to deal with. Most of my time is spent with administration, attending meetings with people who want to come in from Calgary, investors, things like that. Also, citizens of Strathmore. I'm usually here every morning for the citizens of Strathmore. If you want to come see, talk to me, but it's better to make an appointment. but I do have a lot of appointments with various people that want to talk to me about various things. And other than that, we're moving forward hopefully, and I'm pleased with what some of the things that are happening, not all things, but first, but we're moving forward. Administration. Now, we also attended the doctors' convention up in Edmonton last week. Do you want to comment on that?
Yes, we had an opportunity, Your Worship, to go to Edmonton for a couple of days. And it's interesting what some of the municipalities are doing to try and attract doctors. Every community pretty well needs more doctors. Chestmere, Airdrie, Okotoks, you go on and on. You all need a bunch of doctors. And the talk in town there's normally been, we need 4 or 5 more doctors. What we started doing a month or so ago, if a doctor's coming to town, we go, we meet with them, we show them around town, and so forth. Some of the committees and communities that were there at it do more than that, and so I think we'll start doing more of that. And for example, let's say there's a couple coming in, there's a doctor and his wife. We could arrange for a couple of the women or whatever to show the doctor's wife around, talk to her, show her the facilities and that kind of thing. And another thing is, we could probably invite the doctors, all of them, to get together some evening, get ideas on how we can work together, do some of those things. Anyway, the conference was very interesting. The very last speaker was a young doctor who just graduated, going to a rural community, and the experiences he had. Took a long time to get through to become a doctor. First of all, he ended up getting a master's in health care, and then gradually getting into medical school and so forth. There's only about 19% of doctors in the rural part of the province. The rest are in the cities. And if they grow up in a rural community, there's a fair chance they'll come back to a rural community. The ones that are in the city quite often don't come. There's a lot of medical doctors coming from overseas, matter of fact, a lot of them, and they're very strict, and they check their qualifications and all. And anyway, it was quite educational. And the mayor and myself had the opportunity to meet with a local doctors group the first Friday of every month, and they talked to me today, and I'll be attending on Friday again with the doctors, talking about how we can work to try and get more doctors in town. And it's a very good group, and it's called the Calgary Rural Primary Care Network.
Thank you, very good report. Just to add to it, one of the Olds is doing a little program where the first year doctors are invited out to Olds on a vacation, and they entertain them and show them around town, and they get quite a good response out of that, and maybe that's something we can look at too. We're getting that input on how to go about it. So that's one of the things that we can do too. But we're out at homes told many times to the citizens that we're basically in a crisis situation here, so we really got to work hard on getting some doctors into the community. Thank you very much. There's no further reports. We'll move on to...
I would move for acceptance of all the reports, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried. There's nothing else in the agenda on my side of it here. Looking for a motion to... Any questions between the councilors or anything?
Move to adjourn.
Move for adjournment. All in favor? Carried.